Okay, welcome to this submission for SGDQ 2021. I am Joseph Joestar316, and this is Metal Gear Solid 4 Guns of the Patriots on the PlayStation 3. I'll be playing this on the Boss Extreme, which is the highest difficulty, on New Game Plus, which I'll explain further details about that shortly. And we're going to load in from this save file, which is a Speedrun.com accepted starting point, because it just skips 2.5 minutes of commercials that you don't want to sit through, and it gives you first access of in-game control. So once this file loads in, the time will start once I hit start, and the time will end on the last hit of Liquid Ocelot, during the last boss fight. And the run estimate is 2 hours and 5 minutes. So we're going to start in 3, 2, 1, start. Okay, so in addition to running this on the Boss Extreme, we are also going to be attempting for a rank which is often referred to as like the Big Boss Emblem, Big Boss Strats. But it's the highest rank you can earn on this difficulty, which is doing the following, where you play the game quickly, in less than 5 hours. You don't kill anything, you don't get spotted except for this alert, which does not count. You have no healing items used, no continues, and no special items used, such as the stealth camouflage and the infinite ammo bandana, which are carryover items from, doing certain things. But we will be using an item that is acquired from getting the Big Boss rank, which is another indicator of this being New Game Plus, is I have items and weapons and items available to me, versus a New Game run, which everything is from scratch. Your driven point count is starting over. Items you acquire is for the first time. Whereas items that I have are items I've already acquired, or I'm just collecting ammo. Also, I do not have to farm for driven points either to purchase things from the Drebin shop, which is the, war shop that you can get things from, the weapon supplier Drebin. So we will not actually use the Drebin shop at all in this run because I have everything I need. But from this starting point until we actually rendezvous with Snake's partner Otacon, or rather his MK2 droid, in its place, we're still technically New Game, since we don't have the full options available when I go into the menus, and none of my items and carryover items are present just yet. So the first thing we're gonna do is we're gonna go into this building and fire at this wall a few times. And then they're going to react to it and stare at the wall. While at the same time, it's going to put me in caution to bypass a cutscene of that tank rolling in with guards being unloaded in the back. Then we're going to shoot this barrel to distract these two guards. And then I hold up a third, or I hold up that guard there. And whenever you hold up a guard that's kneeling, they automatically lay down and drop their weapons. So it kind of puts them out of the equation quickly. And then in this second half of what is Red Zone, I'm going to be doing another tight maneuver to hopefully get through somewhat smoothly. So what we're going to do is we're going to roll around this corner. And then we're going to shoot this container. Gunshot. And then it's going to lure this guard forward. And sometimes that guard on the left can also get lured forward. It's not a big deal if they don't. So as soon as he says footsteps and I reach this shadow here, I'm going to slow down. To raise my camo index just a little bit, enough to where the guard that's kind of trying to figure out, where I'm at won't see me right away. And I can also time it when it's safe to stun knife the guards in front of me. Because you may notice I run with either a pistol, a stun knife, or just no weapons at all. Because Snake's running speed is faster when you have lighter weight items, such as, the pistol and the stun knife. Whereas two-handed weapons like the AK-102 and, other assault-type weapons will slow you down. So right out of the bat, we met up with Otacon. We're now officially New Game Plus, so we have everything we've acquired in past playthroughs. So you may notice I'm equipping the same disguise that I had at the beginning of the run, which is the Rebel Middle Eastern disguise, which is exclusive to Act 1 only. There are other disguises that are made available to you in other parts of the game, but they're only usable in those acts. Normally you would get this disguise further in this Rebel hideout. So because we have it early, And as long as I don't do anything to attack or agitate the rebels, they will just see me as an ally, even though I've never seen them before in my life.
It's you.
Oh, it's you! Yeah! Well, anyways, it goes from having to either trank some of these guards, give them rations to kind of, you know, gain favor, or sometimes you can gain their favor by attacking the PMCs to help them win their skirmishes, but we just get to run through like we're part of it. You know, I mean, I'm just an old guy that still has some fight left in him. You know, I'm totally legit. So, at this point, we're racing to meet up with our weapons supplier known as Drebin, which, like I said, there's a shop named after them, which once you reach up to this cutscene, you actually unlock the Drebin shop. But like I said, I will not be needing anything from the Drebin shop itself. But in new game playthroughs, you can get weapons such as the 50 caliber sniper rifle, the Mosin Nagant, you know, tranquilizer sniper rifle, which is a reference to Metal Gear Solid 3, plus a series of other things. But like I said, we've acquired everything that we need for this run. So what we're gonna do now is going to our first of several menus where, with our M4 Custom, we're gonna equip a shotgun attachment. And then we're going to swap it out for the MGL140, which is a multi-round grenade launcher, which is normally acquired when you beat Raging Raven in Act 3. Whereas, because this is New Game Plus, I've already acquired it. And then the advantage to using this MGL140 is you can use different types of rounds, such as grenade, incendiary, stun, and smoke-type rounds. So it is very useful. And not only just in this act, but in another one later. So what we're going to do here is we're going to roll right up to this trigger, which this rebel will fall down. And if you're standing upright, Snake will just kind of remain in place, and he's stunned for a little bit after the rebel, you know, kind of falls in place for a little while. So rolling and prone to trigger and then standing up will bypass that, you know, stunned position you would be in. It just saves you a little bit of time. So you may notice I have smoke grenades equipped, which again is not something you would normally have here at this time. So we're going to be using these smokes to kind of help create space to get through some of these heavily guarded areas.
Hurry to the rendezvous point. Your radar is marked with...
So once we reach this pillar, right after passing this car, we're going to throw a smoke at that corner. And a second smoke past these set of boxes. And what this does is it's going to incapacitate 2 sets of guards. Because smoke grenades in this game are really good. They incapacitate a guard where they're coughing and they can't really see for a sufficient amount of time. And it's stackable, meaning you can use one smoke on a guard repeatedly and you could basically stun lock them as long as you have smokes. So now we're using the MGL140 stun rounds to take out these 2 snipers quickly. And then we're going to use another smoke on this corner here to incapacitate those 2. You don't necessarily have to, but it does mitigate the risk of them seeing you. Even though these guys are in a skirmish with the rebels, they could still see you as an enemy. So we're shooting that guard at that rooftop there while using these smokes and swapping our ammo type in the grenade launcher from stun to explosive. Because shooting the guy on the roof, again, is just a safety, so that when I make that approach to that door, it minimizes the chance of them spotting me. Because if a guard spots me, even in the middle of an encounter, it will count. So we use the explosive rounds here for this hotel, which we're meant to meet up with Meryl's team, you know, the Rat Patrol. And normally to take out these traps that were placed, you either have to like crawl over them to pick them up or use your M4 or some other type of weapon to shoot them out. So we use the MGL to kind of do the job for us. And at the same time, we're going to be using our first and probably only face camo disguise, which is the Big Boss mask. This is a mask that's only acquired when you've, you know, done the Big Boss requirements and earned the rank at least once in some playthrough. And I'll explain what it does as we get underway with the first guard encounter, if you would. I mean, it's not technically with PMCs, but it's with guards that are even more threatening than the PMCs, which are actually frog soldiers. They're advanced elite guards, you know, personally, you know, overseen by Liquid. You know, they are more acrobatic. They can do more things than PMCs, and you know, so we're gonna be. Oh wow, what a screen to stop it on. So, as you can see, when I approach the frogs, they kind of notice me and then pass out. Because normally what this item does is any PMC guard or frog that notices you within close range will either pass out and faint, or will just go into a panic and then faint at some point later. And this is a really useful item for this place because you don't have to worry about alerts here. Because it doesn't really treat anything as an alert. So you may have noticed me punch Jonathan a few times before letting Meryl go in the stairwell. Because for some reason, if Meryl doesn't go in the stairwell first, it will not trigger these frogs to spawn in right away. Like, you'll lose some time just waiting for them to show up. So you may have noticed I planted a satchel at the door, plus another one here. And then I was listening for an audio cue of a bunch of footsteps landing on the rooftop, which is a group of frogs that spawn in once we make our way down here. And what that satchel did upstairs at the door is when I heard a group of frogs land, I detonated a satchel that will land right on top of them when they try to approach the door, and it knocks them all out instantaneously. Doing so will just save you time from having them come down the stairs, slow you down because you only move as fast as Meryl's team. So the less fighting that you have to do, the better. And the faster that Meryl's team moves forward. So we detonate 2 more satchels plus a stun nade run at those 2. Because again, these frog spawns are predictable. But the timing is very important on how you do it. Because sometimes, you know, the MGL140 can miss, and then these 2 frogs here could be late. But so far, so good. So we're going to run ahead of Meryl's team for this next floor. And we're going to plant 4 satchels. Sleep gas satchels, that is, if I didn't make that clear. So just like before, we're going to be using these on frogs that are anticipated to spawn in. And so we're going to plant them right here. And then once Meryl's team kind of gets assembled together here, we're going to punch the group, followed by Johnny, who is 3rd in line. And then what this is going to do is it's going to speed up a, like, comedy skit routine of what's normally, you know, Meryl's team kind of trading shots with the frogs, and then Johnny's kind of, you know, running around saying, I gotta go, you know, nature calls, and, you know, it just allows you to skip through that faster. Alright, so for the time being, we're just gonna wait for Meryl to make her way over here before we go against the next group of frogs. Alright, so once this wall comes down and the screen flashes white from their stun that they throw in, I'm gonna stop in place and I'm gonna detonate all 4 satchels that I planted before this floor was spawned.
Snake, Akiba's been knocked out.
And then as you can see, all the frogs that spawned up here were taken out by the satchels I planted. So just like the first floor, taking these frogs out preemptively is critical.
Get your ass up!
So normally Otacon tells you over the codex saying, hey, Akiba's been knocked out, you need to revive him. But if you take out all the enemies first, Meryl's team will just revive him faster, usually just with a firm kick. Hey, thank you for all the good lucks, everybody. Man, Johnny really did let himself go. But, you know, as goofy as he is, we do need him. And, you know, we appreciate Johnny here. You know, he's a bud when in need.
Akiba!
So, we're gonna let Jonathan, this big guy, jump down first. and we're gonna land right on top of him, which is not only just for, you know, messing around, but we're actually skipping a dialogue sequence of what would delay this bulldozer from spawning in. Then we're gonna throw a smoke, turn around, so the stuns that get thrown in won't blind me. And we're gonna trank 1, 2, 3, 4 frogs. You need to trank at least 3 to trigger the rest of these frogs to show up. Oh, thank you, Meryl. Okay, so he just tranked the remaining 3. We're gonna collect some more trank ammo. And then we're just gonna wait for Meryl's team to make their way in. Hey, way to go, team. Good job. So you might be wondering, well, why punch them? You know, I mean, you guys already, you know, ended the encounter. Well, for some reason, when you let all 4 of them enter this room, there's a bit of a delay before it actually fades in to, like, officially end the encounter. So by punching at least Johnny and one of the other members, it skips that dialogue sequence just like the stairwell earlier, and it just ends the encounter faster. You know, it's just like these little time saves you can do rather than just like waiting for something to either start or end.
Okay, time to head for the surface.
Okay, so we're back to running as we were before that frogs encounter. And so we're gonna be doing our next set of menus where, whoops, we're actually gonna unequip the face camo disguises because we don't need them now for the time being. Then we're gonna swap our smoke types from regular to yellow, which I'll explain what that is in a second. So in New Game Plus, you have access to, actually, wait a minute, forgot to swap the ammo type back. So in New Game Plus, you have access to certain things such as, you know, anesthetics, you know, accessories, so on and so forth. But there's a special type of weaponry that you have only on New Game Plus, which are emotion-type anesthetic rounds and emotion-type smokes. The game has a theme of where it runs on different types of emotions that are normally suppressed during a battlefield. And so there's laughing, rage, sadness, and fear. And so the yellow smokes that I've equipped are laughter, which the only thing that differs them from the other type of smokes are just the after effect that happens when used against guards. So I'm gonna throw 1 smoke here, then another one at the corner with the boxes. And you're gonna hear some laughter. Now, not that I did or said anything funny, but it's the yellow smoke at work. So they kind of get incapacitated like a regular smoke, but the after effect of this is where they go through bursts of laughter where they're just having a grand old time. Maybe somebody did or said something, and then they just kind of get carried away and start shooting at each other. Man, you know, you expect all types of things on a battlefield, but never would you expect guards to be like, oh, look, there's an enemy tank! And they just start laughing. But the point is, like, the after effect is what makes these unique, is that not only do they remain incapacitated, they can't see or do anything to you until the smoke wears off, but the after effect is what makes it helpful. Because different types of emotion smokes will do different things, and they're good for certain places. Alright, so for Millennium Park, which is the end portion of Act 1. Okay, we're just gonna be tranking these guards as we see them. Yeah, a direct headshot is the most effective way to take these guys out quickly, but aiming over the shoulder is not exactly perfect. Especially when it comes to, like, landing in the head hitbox cleanly. You know, especially with this guy in the turret. So at times, I opt out of a headshot and go for, like, a single body hit instead, like this. Because 1 round, even on the abdomen, will take effect relatively quickly. 2 rounds to the abdomen are just slightly under the amount of time of what would be, like, a headshot. So you could do, like, 2 quick rounds to the body, and a guard will pass out shortly after, whereas 1 round, and it'll take some time for it to kick in. So we're gonna throw 1 smoke over the container, plus another one further down the way. which is going to incapacitate 2 guards, and then we're going to throw another one over the tent right here. And we can now leave. Yeah, so there are different types of smoke grenades, or rather just the emotion value that goes with it. So, for example, the yellow smokes will make a guard burst in laughter and they turn on their own. A red smoke will make them go into a burst of rage, and likewise turn on each other. Blue smokes will make them overcome with sadness and just kind of stay on the ground in a fetal position and eventually pass out. And green smokes will make them crouch down in fear and then run off in a panic and then also eventually, you know, pass out and faint. So that was the end of Act 1 with a IGT finish of 1955, which is a good target time for this category. I always try to be 20 minutes and under, you know, just to be quick. But, you know, given the main challenge of trying to be stealthy and not killing anything, you know, being under 20 minutes is a good start. So now we're going into Act 2. Which is where the difficulty scale in this run, to me, kind of dials up a few notches. You know, because there's lots of things that can happen, which the 2 hour and 5 minute estimate takes this and several other parts into consideration. But for big boss attempts, runners despise this place, which is known as Cove Valley Village. It's the first area of Act 2 that you start in where lots of things can go wrong if you just make a slight mistake. So the first thing we're going to do is we're going to turn on our night vision with the solid eye and then just start running.
It's to the north.
And what this is going to do, it's going to lure the guards in that area to kind of notice me and then make their way up to where I was. And this is just kind of lure them away, where the rebels being held prisoner on the ground will kind of notice them being gone, and they'll try to get up and start fighting them. So we use this as a, like, distraction to make our way through here without having to fight anybody except for this guard. Okay, so I'm just gonna scan the area, just make sure there's nobody.
Who goes there? Is anybody there? Hey.
Okay, so they kind of noticed me, but that's fine. You know, as long as they don't see me directly.
Wake up.
Yeah, as long as they don't see me directly, that's all that matters. So sometimes I'll just trank a guard or two to kind of redirect their attention somewhere else. And the reason for having the night vision on is so I can see these guys easier, because it's sort of like, not quite morning, but it's like, you know, it's kind of like early sunrise. The longer you wait, eventually, like, the sun will rise up and it makes the area easier to see.
Oh, it's you again.
Oh, hey, guy that I've never seen before. Yeah, so these guys are kind of just as, I don't know, friendly as the ones of the rebels in Act 1.
You saved my ass.
Okay, I'm not sure if I actually got that guy, but actually I didn't. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to throw the remainder of my yellow smokes to kind of try to incapacitate them from a distance. Okay, I think that might have been the only guard left. Okay, then I'm going to throw one more. So the reason for throwing the last one is not only just to kind of carry over the smoke effect, but I'm going to have to swap smokes anyway for the next areas coming up. So that's the first half of Cove Valley Village, considering both the village section and the steps. Like I said, a lot of things can go wrong. These guards can see you from very far away, even during like early sunrise. You know, the difficulty just gives them like eagle-eye vision when your camo index is extremely low, which mine is. So in this next part, we're gonna be, you know, kind of hanging out with the rebels for a little bit while collecting this ammo for the MK2 tranquilizer. Oh, not much, just doing a submission video. So we're gonna go right by this rock here, and then we're gonna stop. Try to trank this guard, because he has eyes on here.
We're under attack.
Okay, that was sort of an oopsie, but no biggie.
This is HQ.
We're being attacked. Enemy position unknown. Going into
So I'm just gonna go with some safety strats.
Use extra caution.
Okay, so if they're really close to me, I'm gonna equip the big boss camo just in case. Cause like before, if they see me up close like this, they'll just notice the mask and then pass out.
the enemy's attacking.
Yeah, cautions in this game are really bad, considering, you know, the backup that shows up. But thankfully, I was able to, you know, retain the room. You know, at least being undetected. But yeah, it's just remarkable how one thing like a ricochet just, sets a chain reaction of, you know, guards moving around, the ones that are normally scripted to leave the area turn around, and then you get two more as backup. So this is the power station, which, again, these rebel commandos are kind of banding together to, you know, assault this power station facility. So we're gonna try to help them out a little bit, at least indirectly. We're not gonna really help them win, but it's more or less to help me get through quickly. So once we get close enough, this battle will start. So we're gonna throw 1, 2, up to at least 3 of these red smokes. Which is, again, to incapacitate these guards so I can get through somewhat quickly. Okay, then we're gonna swap to our green smokes. Normally I wouldn't be using these this early, but like I said, because some areas like that area I was in before where it kind of got pretty tense, you know, sometimes you just gotta adapt and just use the next set of smokes that you have. But the amount of smokes that I have, including regulars, are more than enough to do this entire run. So you don't actually have to win that fight. You just got to be able to run through and trigger this cutscene. The only difference allowing the rebels to win here is that the area that spawns in once I load through this loading screen, instead of the PMCs, it would actually be the rebel commandos instead. So in this case, the game looks at it as, oh yeah, the PMCs won. So instead of being an area that's clear to you, as an ally, we kind of have to make sure we approach with caution. So there's patrols moving around. There's at least up to 3 snipers laying down some hilltops and grass on higher ground that I have to be on the lookout for. But for the most part, we're just gonna trank those 2, followed by throwing this green smoke right around this gap here. Because again, the nice generous thing about the smoke, other than its effectiveness, is the wide range that it has. So you don't have to get it directly on a guard for it to hit them. You know, it could be slightly off target, and the disbursement is enough to just kind of get within range to get them to start coughing. And then you'll notice they'll roll on any type of hilltop or stairs. Because, you know, you'll notice that normally when Snake goes up inclines, he slows down. And same thing for stairs. So rolling is the efficient way to get up quickly. Alright, so for this section, we're going to avoid this tank. So we're just going to stay down for a little bit until it passes over. And then we're going to go up this step. And then throw a smoke right down here, which is gonna catch a guard. And then we're gonna throw another smoke around this corner like so, which should get another guard. You know, because again, the nice thing about these is like you can use them from pretty far away and around objects, you know, as long as the smoke can, you know, reach it. You know, and what I also like about it that it kind of puts you out of harm's way in terms of like risking detection. But yeah, if you hear like screams of terror, I assure you they're fine. Yeah, don't worry, they're okay. They're just on edge today. So we're gonna be approaching the mansion, which is where we're gonna meet up with Naomi. And before we do that, we gotta create somewhat of a ruckus. So we're gonna take this MGL140, fire around right there.
What's that? An explosion?
What that's gonna do is it's gonna get all their attention on that explosion and away from where I'm at. And at the same time, it's gonna trigger rebel commandos to come in and start fighting. And before they know what happens, I'm already through. So the rebels have an armored dozer where they're gonna use it to bust down this gate, and we're just gonna chill here for a little bit and let them do the work. All right, let's go, rebels. You can do it. Woo woo. Boom. Man, that guy will feel it later. Alright, so now the rebels are pushing in, and we're just gonna kind of blend in during the fighting.
Proceed immediately. Infiltrate the place and find out where she is.
So they're just gonna be focused on each other for the most part. But we're gonna be making this approach where we're gonna go around the side and then throw this green smoke to kind of distract these two. And then we make our way in. Then we're gonna throw a smoke right up here. Okay, so we're gonna slow down intentionally just to play it safe. Because sometimes you can bump through a guard while they're under the effects of a smoke, and there's a rare chance that they'll spot you. Even though 99% of the time they should just ignore you. Alright, so we got access to the wine cellar, which is gonna get us into the lab, where Naomi is. And before we actually climb up, we're gonna be doing a few things. Let's see. One, we're gonna swap back to stun rounds, which is gonna be for later. Then we're gonna equip stun grenades. Let's see. So it's pistol, stuns, satchels, and we're also gonna equip the railgun, which is again another New Game Plus carryover. Granted that you have beaten Crying Wolf in a previous playthrough, because that's the item that you're rewarded with once you beat her. And we're going to be using this in a boss fight that's coming up shortly. Go, rebels! That's the spirit. I mean, you know, the rebels do quite a bit for you. I kind of don't give them enough credit at times.
The nano.
So Naomi kind of explains, you know, the whole role of, you know, the nanomachines and Snake's accelerated aging and, you know, a bunch of other stuff. But what's coming up is the second frogs encounter, where after we met up with Naomi, the frogs kind of figure out that we got in here, and so we kind of get surrounded somewhat. So what we're going to do is we're going to use these stun grenades that I equipped prior to climbing the ladder. And we're going to throw 1, 2, and then we're going to plant 3 satchels on the floor right here. And then based on the frogs that remained, we're going to throw another stun right here. Or actually, no, wait, they went off to the left. So we're going to throw it here instead. Yeah, so if you get really lucky, you can actually stun that group all at once. But the reason for planting those satchels here is so that when the next set of frogs come in, they will spawn based on where you are. So if I'm over here, they're going to spawn left. And likewise, if I'm in the other side of this room. They're gonna spawn off to the right. And considering the sleep gas satchels are stackable, and as long as I stay put, I could just set these off for each wave that comes in. Okay, so we have one more. And so just like before in Act 1, once they're caught in it, it just automatically knocks them out. Okay, so we're gonna be equipping a few more items. Let's see, one which is gonna be the solar gun and an M870 shotgun, which I'll explain the reason for all those in just a little bit. And now we're actually in the first boss encounter, which is against Laughing Octopus. So there's gonna be quite a few things happening, so I'll try to go over it one at a time. So the first thing is we're gonna duck into the next room because she's gonna start firing with her P90, while at the same time we charge this railgun all the way up to level 3, which is the max charge. Fire a round off so it takes off a third of her health. And then we're gonna be turning on the auto aim, which will target like anything within range that it can find to blow up these remote mines. And the reason for doing so is that it's gonna influence where she'll spawn, which is either on this painting or sometimes as a fake mannequin. It just kind of depended on RNG and where you are.
Snake, come here.
Okay, so we do that to trigger this like fake Otacon, which, you know, she tries to place tricks on you by thinking that it was Otacon that spawned in, but it wasn't. Okay, next we're gonna be looking around for... Okay, so we got what is called a phase skip. Because I was standing in a room in a particular way after blowing up the fake Otacon, that it bypasses a phase, which is normally like a fake frog body on the floor. Okay, next we're gonna be charging the railgun for one final shot, and that is the end of the fight. And then we're gonna equip our next item, which is full of... Now, you might be wondering, well, whoa, what's this? What's this sunlight? What's this solar gun? Well, the sunlight is a reference weapon to... I think it's one of the like early like Konami games.
Who knows what she'll throw?
I think it's Solar Knights. Well, anyway, so the solar gun is an item that you would normally get, not just for New Game Plus, but you have to do a series of tasks where you have to beat each boss in both Phase 1 and 2 non-lethally, as well as the first Frogs encounter of Act 1 non-lethally, and you have to collect a figurine after each one, and you get awarded this solar gun, which when fully charged will knock out just about everything in one hit, except for bosses, with the exception of Vamp, which we'll get to that later. So that ends the first boss fight, and now we have to go find where Naomi was taken to, which, you know, traditionally speaking, it was always easy to get lost in here, especially if you don't know, like, where to look. So since we know exactly, you know, what areas we need to be, you know, following, we're just gonna kind of follow the map, just from, you know, past experience. I mean, the game kind of tells you, oh yeah, you can use your solid eye to look at the footprints on the ground and kind of get an idea of where, you know, they went off to, but you don't need to do that. Okay, so I'm just gonna set my inventory. For the rest of this area, and then one of the first of two vehicle auto-scrollers in this run.
Snake, the trail splits up into multiple directions. Look closely at the footprints.
Yeah, so he's trying to tell you to look at the footprints to get an idea where they went, but again, I just know exactly where to go. Alright, now for safety, I'm just going to shrink this guard. I believe you don't normally have to, but, you know, for the sake of the rank, for avoiding alerts, I just shrink him for peace of mind. Okay, then we're going to smoke a guard, which may not be visible on the solid eye, but he is here. You know, because he's standing still, he's really hard to see. He's added there on later difficulties, so I kind of view him like as a beginner's trap guard, meaning you're so used to looking at the solid eye for positional reference, and then you run into this guard, which is even visible.
Vanish. But just her.
But not only can the PMCs do that, but the frogs are especially hard to pick up on the radar. Because they're even, like, less noticeable. Which, of course, again, I've just memorized where they are. But, again, for the most part, like, when you're looking at the solid eye, it kind of picks up based on sound. It's not like a proxy radar that you may remember from, you know, other games like Metal Gear Solid 1, Metal Gear Solid 2, where it's a soliton radar. It gives you, like, an exact location where they are and where they're looking. So next we're going to do is we're going to throw a smoke right around this corner at that tree, which is going to get that guard.
They must have gone separate ways.
And me as well, but no big deal. But it's basically a PMC trying to plant a claymore. And yeah, don't mind the screaming. He's fine. Maybe he just saw something spooky. Alright, so we got one more guard right over here. Okay, so that takes care of all the guards we need to deal with. So next we're gonna equip solar gun, shotgun, and our 50 caliber, which is what we're gonna need in this next segment coming up for the first auto-scroller.
Security's getting tighter.
So this is going to be the APC tank section where we're riding on top of Drebin's tank. And the area is kind of different from what I went through the first time. And these guys are... PMCs are not really acting like themselves. The nanomachine system, or otherwise known as SOP, was activated where they were kind of cut off from the network. And all the emotions that the nanomachines were suppressing are kind of, you know, unlocked. And so they're kind of acting more like zombies. So we kind of just ignore them. But we now use the solar gun to take out these power suits, which are directly in the way of leaving. You can actually get through this section without having to do anything with the power suits, because Drebin will just eventually leave. But it's faster just to take them out with the solar gun, which, like I said, a fully charged shot is more than enough to take them out.
These guys don't seem to feel any pain. Small arms won't do you much good. A large caliber weapon ought to do the trick. Use the machine gun.
Yeah, don't listen to Anakai. He doesn't realize we're trying to go for big boss strats, but he is right. You know, because the zombie PMCs don't really respond to normal, you know, damage, you have to kind of use heavier weapons or CQC to kind of dispose of them. So what we're going to do here is use the shotgun with a V-ring rubber round to take out this guard right here, because he's scripted to climb the front of the tank if you don't address them right away. So we kind of got unlucky here at the start, because normally you would want one of these geckos to ram the tank. Not just because of trying to damage the tank itself, but they'll actually shake off any of the zombie PMC soldiers trying to climb on top. And any of them that are on top will be shaken off.
Try to ram you. Don't let them get too close.
Yeah, again, don't listen to Otacon. I mean, he's telling you the opposite. We want them to ram the tank, because it just makes it less work for me if they do, but it's completely RNG if they do it at the start or not. So it's not the end of the world, but it does make it a little bit riskier, because then it puts more of the burden on you. Now, Drebin, you the man.
Yeah, baby!
So, overall, that wasn't too bad, but the main idea is to take out the geckos as fast as possible. And you're trying to aim at the, like, top, like, round sensor, which is a weak spot. So it's kind of hard to focus in on it, but if you do get it directly, it's kind of like a critical hit where it takes it out in one.
Got an MGS on our ass!
And next is what I call the most infamous mini-boss in the entire run, which is the gate. So much snow that Attica makes a big deal out of it.
Shoot the gate.
And it takes so many rounds to destroy it. It's like the world's strongest gate.
Hey, you gotta do something about that MGS!
know, meanwhile, Otacon's telling me to shoot the gauge. Revan's saying, hey, you gotta do something about this tank. So they can't really make up their mind on what's the bigger threat here. You know, I kind of wish I had one of those armored dozers, you know, like what the rebels used at the mansion, rather than trying to shoot this darn thing. I mean, heck, even this tank would act as a better, like, battering ram than, you know, me shooting rounds at it.
The gate! Snake, shoot the gate!
Yeah, so it's pretty much just, you know, shoot the gate, and, shoot the gate.
Get ready for some speed!
Alright, so now coming up is just going to be dealing with geckos primarily. We're not in big of a, I guess, threat level as we were earlier. Like, the beginning section is somewhat moderate, in my opinion. I mean, you just got to be really quick about taking out the power suits, but the room with all the geckos that spawned in front of me, I consider at high risk. Because it's an area of risk where, you know, you're likely to get killed either by, you know, PMCs interrupting you, like grabbing off the turret, or the geckos firing at you, which deal a lot of damage in this difficulty. But at this point, we're pretty much in the clear.
Out of my way! I said moving! Hang on! It's gonna get bumpy!
Well, Drebin, it's technically been bumpy. I mean, I like how he says it now, but, like, it's been bumpy since we started, and then some.
Up front! Here they come!
Alright, same as before, just shoot the geckos as you see them. Pretty much right to the end of the stage.
Almost there! Can do it!
Don't fall off!
Alright, so I'm gonna use this syringe preemptively, which is gonna carry over into the next area, partially. Now, the syringe that, again, you would normally get from Naomi once you reach the lab, is the syringe will do a few things. One, it will suppress nanomachine activity, which is gonna be used for a fight later at the end of the game. It also will restore Snake's stamina to full regardless of what it is. However, it does have a side effect if you use it repeatedly, which will make Snake kind of get stressed and then vomit, which will make him lose stamina, just due to the, like, repeat usage. So we only use it for certain things, such as when the stress meter that you see beneath the health bar, if that stress percentage reaches above 50, it'll turn to red, which will make Snake's stamina start draining. And when it gets below 50%, Snake will start to get, like, shaky aim whenever he's aiming either over the shoulder or down the sight. So you always want to try to keep it above 50% whenever you can, ideally, you know, full. But if it's above 50% and it remains, it kind of starts ticking down quickly, and the higher that it gets, like up to 80%, like, you're pretty much on no stamina, which means not only is your aim terrible, but things like getting shot at and you get stunned will actually knock Snake out unconscious. If you roll, it'll actually hurt his back, so you'll slow down. Oh, I thought I actually split, but no biggie. So not only health management, but the stress meter management is also important throughout this run. Which, again, the biggest risk for it to exceed above 50 is during that tank section, because you're outside. Because you might be wondering, well, what adds to the stress meter? Things like certain weather conditions, so like in Act 1 and Act 2, being out in the sun, in the heat, adds to it. Being in combat during an alert segment accelerates it. And of course, during that take section, we were outside for the majority of it. But things that lower it, such as like being in the shade, indoors, not being in combat, or in this case, there are certain items that you can use to kind of help gradually lower the stress, but for the most part, we just try to avoid alert combat as much as possible, not only just for the sake of the big boss rank, but for managing the stress meter. So this is Act 3. So we kind of take a different direction with this run, where instead of going through areas like we were before, where you gotta be stealthy and, you know, whatnot, infiltration, we're gonna be following a resistance guy around for quite a bit, because we need to find a certain hideout. And so we're gonna be changing up our disguise, which we have this European trench coat disguise, which is, again, only exclusive to this act. But before that, I'm gonna be doing a few things. We're gonna be having some items equipped for both what's coming up and for endgame. Alright, so we're gonna have Laughing Octopus's face camo. It doesn't really matter which one you use, but it just has to be something other than old or Young Snake's appearance. And the reason for this iPod, well, you gotta have some fun. You know, because admittedly, this part of the run is relatively slow, but it does pick up. So we just play the iPod during sections like this where we're just trying to enjoy the moment, kill some time, and it actually makes it better, honestly. So here's our resistance guy that we gotta follow without him seeing me. So it leads us to this hideout, which advances the story. But the first thing I'm doing is I'm gonna shoot around at his feet.
You found a resistance member.
I'm sorry, at his feet.
Kill them without letting them know.
Okay, there we go. And you may have noticed I swapped this anesthetic round from normal to crying. And I will explain that in a little bit as to why. But we shoot the ground between his feet, so it pushes him forward and around this corner. Because if you let him move on his own, he moves really slow. 10 out of 10 kick. You don't need to do it, but again, I'm just passing time. Because he's going to show up right around this corner shortly. Okay, so there he is. I'm going to make my way up here. And then once he stops whistling, and then begins whistling again, he's going to start moving. And that's going to be my audio cue to proceed. So, we're going to be using the crying rounds on these 4 PMCs. Starting with those 2, and then those other 2 down the street. And normally the resistance guy will react to guards being present, and will kind of stop in place until they are cleared. So what these emotion rounds will do is it'll kind of change their threat level relative to our resistance friend, where he just kind of ignores them. I mean, come on, dude. They're crying their eyes out, and he's just like... So anyways, the reason for doing this is so that you optimize the patrol... you optimize the resistance guy's movement as much as possible with as little interruptions as you can. Alright, what's another good one? Oh, here's a favorite. So, for parts of it, we're just going to be following him as intended, with some efforts of trying to clear out guards for him along the way. And, of course, enjoying the tunes. Oh, yeah, one thing I neglected to mention about this disguise and why I'm wearing Laughing Octopus's face as my camo disguise is because the guards at the beginning recognize Old Snake and Young Snake's appearance as an enemy, but if I have a face camo that's not those, I mean, I don't look sus at all. I mean, as long as I don't do anything to attack them or have a weapon visible, I mean, they just sort of ignore me. So that's the reason for this outfit, is to, you know, not have to worry about the guards as much.
Acknowledged. Sending reinforcements. Use extra caution.
Oh, I guess when you gotta go, you gotta go. Alright, but that's my cue to trank these 2 guards here. then for bonus points, I'm going to try to kick this can in the tree. Okay, that was maybe like a 1 out of 10. If you kick the can at the right spot, at the right angle, you can actually kick it into this tree, which I do for fun since I'm just waiting. Alright, so just like the earlier section, he just ignores them. But again, it's only when they're under the effect of an emotion round. But if they are unconscious or dead or knocked out, he will react to their bodies, where he kind of stops and kind of looks for a little bit, and then he proceeds. So you're just trying to keep him moving.
All the ashes of men remain as a perfect memory.
Alright, so we're going to trank these two normally, which is going to lure one over after this one is tranked. Because taking out these two guards is very important. Because one, not only our guy needs to get through, but if you get to this part and you take too long to deal with these guards, our resistance guy will abandon going this way and go up and to the left, which will take you really out of your way to the end point. And going this way is a lot faster. You know, so like you always want him to go this way if you want to be quick. So that right there is him, like, reacting to the bodies where it's like, what are these guys doing here? Maybe they're on a night shift and they're just tired. Okay. He just goes about his way. Here's another classic. Of course, if I can actually select it.
Acknowledged. Sending reinforcements. Use extra caution.
I guess fun fact about the iPod songs is some of them are, like, they're required in-game. Some you have to do certain things, or you enter, like, secret passcodes. Some are downloadable. Let's see, does music lower stress? You know, I think there are some songs that have some effect, but I don't recall if there's any that actually reduce stress. I know there's one that when you trigger the B&B bosses in Phase 2 and you wait long enough and you get like this, you know, like empty space where you have like a 5-minute running timer, and if you play a certain song, it gets them to dance. But there are certain camouflage patterns that can help lower the stress rate. But for this run, we don't use those, again, because it's extra menus. Okay, so we're going to swap this song to the Hind D one, because it's very fitting to this area that we're about to enter. Yeah, because like the Mantis hymn, it's, this one's also referencing another classic game. Am I getting memed, or did I just say something? Okay, I'm definitely getting memed. Well, anyways. So, Otacon's gonna tell you about this chopper and saying, oh, stay out of the light. But in actuality, while you're in this disguise, you can actually do whatever. But yeah, just don't do anything to attract the guards' attention. Alright, so once our resistance guy makes his way here, we're just gonna wait a little bit for him to move from that corner, so we'll take his spot. And then we're gonna trank these two guards here. Alright, so that's the last set of guards we need to, you know, take out like this. don't mind me, I'm just punching to the music. Okay, let's see. Here's another classic. Yeah, I mean, you gotta find ways to pass the time when you're at this part of the run, because like I said, it does feel relatively slow pace. But what we're gonna do here is the second Mr. X shot like I did at the beginning. So we're gonna wait for him to change his disguise. We're gonna fire at the door. And if I did this right, he's gonna run out and to the left. As he goes by this van. Alright, so I got it right. So, like before, it's just gonna put him into a panic hurry where he's gonna run forward faster. But if you don't time it right, he'll run forward and down this alley where he'll hang around this corner and then resume his patrol. But getting him to run forward is gonna speed this up quite a bit. But in the meantime, we can just jam out to the Yell Dead Cell. Bow, bow. So normally this part of his like walk is like a checkpoint, cause he'll just take his sweet time going all the way around this street if he did nothing. Oh yeah, about this Humvee. Yeah, this Humvee patrols around. It's there at the very start. It likes to honk at me a lot. It's okay, move along. You got space. I don't know. For those that know me and running this game, I have a bad history when it comes to that Humvee. You know, it just doesn't seem to like me for some reason. So from this point, we're just going to be following the Resistance guy as intended. Since, well, for one, we're surrounded by real guards, along with, well, actually, no, let's look at him closely, okay? So he's got what looks like a biker's helmet for headgear. He has the PMC outfit and padding. No main weapon. Maybe he has a pistol, but I don't know, man. You tell me. I mean, my outfit is incredibly suspicious, but not this guy. Well, anyway, so we're just gonna wait for him to cross the street. Pray that the Humvee won't run him over. Alright, there we go. Because this Humvee can and will run over this guy if given the opportunity. Alright, so now we're just gonna follow him for the rest of this section and just kind of relax. Yeah, this is the Arsenal Gear music. Or rather, like, the different phases of it, where it's, like, normal, alert. Yeah, because what I like about the iPod is, like, it includes music from, like, multiple games in the franchise. Including these two. Okay, that was a pretty good kick. Again, we're just buying time, waiting for the Resistance guy to go about his way. So we're gonna practice our can kicking skills. Okay, that was a good one. really good kick. All right. Now we gotta go catch up with him. Because he'll eventually reach the end, and you won't actually end this segment unless if you're close enough to him. I've actually lost time by, you know, goofing around like this before. I guess I startled him. Don't worry, I mean, I'd be startled too if I was dressed like this. Alright, so what we're gonna do now is we're gonna be equipping the weapons we'll need for the bike segment, which honestly is probably the most scariest part of the run when going for big boss rank. Even more scary than this Humvee, which again just hates my guts. I'm off the street! Yeah, I don't know, man. The Humvee just... It just doesn't like me. Yo, Jaguar King, thank you for the raid, dude. Came in at the most exciting part of this submission run, which is, Resistance section of Act 3. But thank you, my dude. Alright, so he ditched his guard disguise, and we're now gonna be transitioning into the bike segment. Which for some parts, I'll try to explain it, but then there's some areas where I just need to concentrate. Because like the take section, any damage that I take does not regenerate. So I'll have to live with the damage until I reach certain checkpoints where my health will get refilled. I'm going to try my hardest not to use rations to maintain the rank. But they are there as a backup for the safety of this run. Because damage you'll take on this difficulty could be either minor or very severe, depending on what it is that hits you. Whether if it's, you know, the guards, MK17s, the Frogs P90s, which again is a 9mm weapon, may not do as much damage up front, but if there's plenty of them, I mean, they can just light you up on this difficulty and your health just drains before you know it. So the ration will be used as a last resort, which for me is intended for this section.
We have to.
Okay, so we met up with Big Mama, who's also known as Eva from MGS4. Tells us more about the story, and we gotta get Big Boss's body, or at least what supposedly is Big Boss's body, out of danger. So we're gonna be riding backseat with Eva at the wheel, and our main weapons are gonna be the MK2 pistol, the VZ83, which is a submachine gun type of weapon. Because again, we're not going to be killing guards or anyone, but we're going to be blowing up barrels to take out guards for me. And we're going to do the same thing again here. Okay, so we're going to take them out here. And we're going to shoot this barrel there and there. Shoot this guard. Now, I did take a little bit of damage on one of these turns, so I'm gonna equip the rations as soon as we leave this stage. And then we're gonna swap to the solar gun, because coming up is gonna be one turn where you're likely to take damage, and the solar gun is one of the best weapons you can have for this segment, because it's not just a charge-only weapon. It can fire multiple rounds quickly, which I'm going to need to for all these guards, including the ones in the turret. Okay, finally got him. Okay, so we'll just take out the frogs that jump on top of the van. Now, the beauty of this, even with the trank, like, one hit anywhere is all you need. They kind of give you that leniency. You know, but it's still going to be quite a task to get through. Okay, so we're going to blow up that barrel, use the solar gun against the guys in the turret. And then you'll see me swap to auto-aim from certain sections over others. Some is to make some shots easier to land, and other ones just purely for preference. And then what I'm going to do here is I'm going to be using auto-aim with the MK2 pistol and then rotating my weapon all the way around. So that for every time I fire the MK2, I don't have to wait for like the manual reload before taking the next shot when the game slows down like that during that jump. So firing the weapon and then quickly rotating it and your weapon menu like I just did there will kind of reload the next shot for you without having to do it manually. Alright, so now in this section, it's going to be primarily frogs. So I'm going to shoot this barrel here, and then take out this frog on top of the van, and then this one hanging on the wall, or at least try to. So as you can see, I use the barrel there as a backup, but I typically try to use them whenever possible. Alright, I'm going to concentrate now. Okay, we made it. So, now, it's not over, but we made it through, like, what I refer to as the halfway point. Which is a checkpoint, given that it'll refill your health to whatever it was to full. And any weapon that you had in your hand will actually refill as well, which is why I had the solar gun equipped. Because this was a tip that I got from another runner named Sergeant Silent, where when you enter this part of the bike segment where Raging Raven makes her appearance, not only does your health regenerate, but your solar gun does as well. So it's like getting, you know, like ammo for free, because normally it wouldn't recharge on its own. So anyways, I swapped to the XM25 grenade launcher to hit Raging Raven at least once, because as you can see, her health is displayed, but it's down by a little bit, which is actually 25% of her total HP. And what this is going to do for later is damage that I deal to her now is going to carry over into the fight when I meet up with her later. And it's going to be part of a quick kill setup, which uses the XM25 during this part of the chase, and a fully charged railgun shot when I actually go to fight her, which I'll explain when we get there. Because you can normally try to auto-aim her like I'm doing now. Some shots may hit, but the handguns and SMGs don't really do a lot to her, and some of them will just miss. Alright, so we're going to swap to the solar gun, try to take out this guard, which we did. You could use the MK2 if you're accurate enough. But solar gun, again, just makes life easier. Next you'll say, Snake! Just try to play mind games with her. Okay, so we got another turret here. Got him. Now, again, it only just takes one round of the solar gun. Doesn't matter how fully charged it is. But sometimes I just keep the charge open, anticipating another shot. Alright, so this is going to be what I call the scary pincer, where you're going to get two Humvees try to cut you off from each side. I'm going to concentrate again.
Nice work.
Okay, so I spent a little bit more rounds than I would like, but what makes that pincer scary is that the Humvee turrets, when they hit you, they can deal a lot of damage. I was very generous to only get this much taken off, which is maybe like a little over 25%. They could deal down to like 50 in one hit. Okay, so we're gonna, again, use this moment to take out these frogs during this slowdown. Kind of like a reflex mode, which is, you know, as seen in other games like Ground Zeroes and Phantom Pain. Alright, so again, we're just gonna be using our VZ-83 to blow up barrels whenever we can. I'm actually going to equip the ration for safety. So again, the barrels will take out enemies and will not count as a direct kill. It's a tactic that's used in this game, Metal Gear Solid 3, Metal Gear Solid 5 Ground Zeroes. It's kind of treated like as an indirect kill, if you would. Okay, so again, use the barrel, then we're gonna use the solar gun to take out these last set of 3 frogs. And that's the bike section. So, the biggest challenge with this part of the run is, for me, mainly surviving. You know, because it's not a matter of if I'll take damage, it's how much and how badly. And it's very tempting to want to use a ration during this section, especially when you're trying to go for the big boss rank, which, you know, would invalidate it if you did. So, relatively good bike section. Did take some damage in some places, but made it through just fine. It's one of the earliest hurdles in my mind of, like, what's the biggest risk to the run other than, like, the tank section of Act 2 in terms of just high risk. So, we're on the next boss fight, which is against Raging Raven, you know, the one that was flying around shooting the MGL140 at me, and I shot an XM25 round at her. So, when this loads in, you'll see, oh, look at that. She's down to 75%. I didn't do anything. Well, I sort of did. So, we're going to use the railgun again, and we're going to aim at this window. And then once this wall comes down, she flies right into view, fire away. And down she goes. The railgun is incredibly powerful against both Raven and Laughing Octopus, but especially against Raven. But in combination with the XM25, that's what gives you, like, the 1-2 KO. And so, just like Laughing Octopus, we gotta do the thing, and we're just gonna lure her to the floor by just laying on her back and pressing triangle a few times to get her to crawl, so it lowers her evasion significantly. Because if you try to shoot them while standing up, they can actually juke your shots. I don't know, it's kind of ridiculous, but when they're crawling, it lowers it a lot. So, pretty good Act 3, got both misdirect shots I needed on the Resistance guy. I survived the bike escape, which honestly, and I think I speak for a lot of people that run this game, but every time you make it through bike escape intact, you feel like it's a good run, no matter if you're ahead or behind pace. But the bike section is so scary when going for big boss rank. Any percent has a greater advantage, but, you know, thankfully, it's in the rearview mirror now. And we'll now be transitioning out of Act 3 and into Act 4, where we're going to be visiting a familiar place. Okay, so 1-12-11. We have 0 kills, continues alerts. Recovery items used, so we're still good for the big boss rank. But of course, as our brother would say, it's not over yet. I mean, it isn't. So, we're just gonna get more of these, like, intermission briefings in between acts, and we'll just kind of relax. Then we're gonna have a bit of a nostalgia moment. You know, because we're actually gonna be playing 2 games in this run. I know, it might sound like something insane, but we actually are gonna be playing 2 games. You know, I mean, the submission is for Metal Gear Solid 4, but we're gonna be taking a blast to the past when we're going back to a certain place. So, we're going to be loading in that game right now. Okay. Snake's just getting ready. Think he's just getting up the elevator now. He's got past all the codecs and cutscenes, and, wow, would you look at that? We're actually on the helipad of Shadow Moses playing MGS1. Okay, so we're gonna pick up the chaff and equip it, since you run faster with the item equipped. And we're gonna roll this guard over, crawl in the vent, and make our way in. Now, alerts that happen in this segment will not count because it's technically like a, you know, dream segment, similar to like the Sorrow and MGS3. So the idea is just to get through quickly, crawl in the vent, and then Snake suddenly realizes. Man, I was having that dream again, Otacon. So that is where we're going. Back to where it started for most people in the MGS franchise. Shadow Moses. I mean, technically, you got Metal Gear MSX and Metal Gear 2 Solid Snake. But just referring to, like, the Metal Gear Solid, legacy, it is kind of going back to where it started for a lot. So, again, we're going to be using the night vision, which is kind of weird because it's not technically night, but it is a blizzard, and we can't really see. So we're going to use this to be able to navigate where we're going. But at the same time, we're going to be equipping for this act, which we're going to be having chaff grenades, the M82, which is aka the 50 caliber sniper rifle. It's probably one of the most powerful weapons you have in your arsenal, other than like the solar gun for non-lethal strats. So we're going to be equipping the chaff and the 50 caliber rifle. Because from this point out, we're going to be dealing with primarily machines, such as that gecko that's patrolling, and these little dwarf geckos, which are often referred to as scarabs. But look, there it is. Shadow Moses. Oh yeah, there's one other thing I forgot to do. Something I do kind of like as a tradition, which, Ubisoft was actually a part of the sponsors of developing this game. So they added Altair's outfit from Assassin's Creed 1. And the reason why I go about wearing it is to demonstrate that camouflage index doesn't mean anything here, because the geckos and dwarf geckos will see you regardless. So I'm just kind of running for fun like this.
No match for Fledged, I'm afraid.
So I guess we're playing 3 games today, technically. Metal Gear Solid 4, Metal Gear Solid 1, and I guess Assassin's Creed as well. So, the reason for the chaffs is we're dealing with machines, right? So one chaff is enough to kind of take out a group of dwarf geckos, which kind of incapacitate them as long as the chaff remains. Geckos can be disabled, but just briefly. It'll disrupt their visuals for a little bit, and then they kind of recover out of it. So it just buys you enough time to just slip past them. And we're going to be using these quite a bit throughout the rest of the run. Chaff grenades are one of the few items out of every other item in the game that is only acquired in-game. You cannot purchase it in the Drebin shop. So you have to farm them in-game, which some are found along the way. Others are found sort of out of your way, but you need at least a minimum of 8 to effectively, make it through this run. I think you can get a maximum of 10. But for farming, you just need at least 8. And each one has its purpose. Alright, so we're making our way back down into the computer lab of the nuclear warhead storage building, which is also another nostalgic place for a few reasons. One, we kind of met a certain somebody that, did a lot of things in here. We also went hand-to-hand with them in this lab, which was the Ninja Gray Fox, and it's also the place where we met Otacon for the first time. Oh yeah, you're meant to type in a security code, but, it's a speedrun, I forget what it is, so we just mash start. Doesn't really do anything. But, if you enter in Drebin's number, 14893, during that screen, you actually get a free 100,000 Drebin points, which is a pretty good deal if you ask me.
It should open now.
So, we turn on the power, but of course somebody noticed what we did.
Gecko! We've got Gecko!
So the gecko kind of figured out saying, hey, someone turn on the power here. So we're gonna wait for him to turn his head just for safety, and then we're gonna fire 1 round into his head. And down it goes. Now, normally you could do things like throw a magazine to distract it and make your way down the hallway. You can actually pilot Otacon's Metal Gear droid to go down the hallway and then turn on the power in the transformer box that was destroyed in Metal Gear Solid 1 to turn on the electric circuit on the floor to destroy it. But again, we're trying to be quick, so we just kind of take the more direct approach.
Okay, Snake. Take the stairs down and go to the north door.
Whoops.
I'll open it for you with the Mark III.
Alright, so Otagon's gonna open up the door and then we'll proceed. Wait a minute. Otacon's there. I'm here. Snake is there. Who's using the elevator? Oh dear lord, they could use elevators. So now at this point you're thinking, oh no, what could I possibly do? Well, the same thing we did to the other one.
Oh man, more gecko. The Mark III is totally defenseless while working on the door. You'll have to distract the gecko so they don't spot it.
Oh, right. Distract it. I kind of did that. Not really. Well, anyways, you just gotta blow it up rather than waiting the whole 3 minutes to just buy time. So we're gonna be swapping items around now for this next fight coming up soon. Alright, so we're gonna need the M4, blue smokes, and the...
Okay, Snake, it's open now.
And the MGL 140, at least the non-lethal rounds, the stun rounds. Yes, this is the Assassin's Creed outfit from Assassin's Creed 1, Altair, to be specific. Alright, so we're going to be using these blue smokes for a setup against this next fight with Crying Wolf, along with the MGL 140, which I'll explain that shortly. Okay, so we skip this cutscene. Now, Crying Wolf's spawn right out of the gate is RNG dependent. She could start in one out of like 10 or 12 places on this snowfield, and I can just indicate where she is by sound, unless if she spawns close by where I could see her visually, which of course again we're going to be using the night vision mode of the Solid Eye to be able to see better. But of course she's not alone, so we're going to be taking out these frogs as we make our way around the snowfield to look for Crying Wolf. Because if the frogs do spot me, one, the alert will count, and two, it'll alert Crying Wolf as well as to my location. So not only will the frogs kind of act as like an extra set of eyes and ears for her, but the wind direction can also give me away because it'll give her a scent trail to locate me. Alright, so there she is. She's right there where you see like that orange like blob there, because she's in a mechanical wolf beast, so you can only see the human part of her on the NVGs. So what we're gonna do is get a little bit closer, and we're gonna throw a blue smoke right at her with the pod open. And then once we see her kind of bend, you know, move her body a little bit, we're gonna fire at least 5 stun rounds at her. And the reason why she went down so fast is that when she's coughing from a smoke when the pod is open, she has no hitbox cooldown, so you can hit her with as many stun rounds as you have. You know, which in this case, I mean, I had 6 left, but it takes 5. But at the same time, the blue smoke that I threw at her actually ticks away some stamina damage, because Crying Wolf's weakness is the blue smokes, which is the sadness emotion. And so you could use that against her to kind of shave off a little bit of stamina off the top. And, you know, save at least 1 round, which of course, I mean, I only had 1 round left to use, but nothing that the solar gun can't finish. So, we were also equipping for the remaining part of, you know, past this fight. But we'll be using the chaff grenades once again. But typically that spawn that I got there, I consider as average. You know, it's not the best, not the worst. It's easy to work with. But typically I would want to get a spawn that's closer to where I start. You know, just for ease of time save.
Hold it, Snake. Time to change the disc. I know, it's a pain.
Dude, where's the disc?
Swap disc 1 for disc 2.
I don't have a disc 2.
Disc labeled 2?
No!
No. Huh? Oh, wait. We're on PlayStation 3. It's a Blu-ray disc. Dual layered, too. No need to swap.
Damn it, Otacon. Get a grip.
Yeah, that was Otacon's attempt at being funny. And just a reminder, because, again, the nostalgia factor is when you enter the blast furnace in the original Metal Gear Solid 1, that is your prompt to swap to disc 2. So, figuring they just, the devs couldn't help themselves but to make a reference to that. So, we're using the chaff right out of the bat so we can disable all the dwarf geckos in here and get to this elevator safely.
Sunlight!
I've got something to tell you about.
So, we're just gonna pose while we wait to get to the
She might be a spy.
B5 floor, 5th floor.
To kill me. Is that all you cared about?
And the flashbacks that you're hearing are from the remake version, Metal Gear Solid: The Twin Snakes, not the original MGS. Just as another fun fact.
Gray Fox.
You killed my benefactor and sent my brother home a cripple.
Hey Snake, what does this place not have?
Sunlight!
But I can't go yet.
Where would you like to go instead of this place?
Sunlight!
I vowed
What's Vamp's weakness?
Sunlight!
Okay, just making sure we're on the same page. So we're in the 5th floor. So we're gonna throw a chaff to not only distract this gecko to turn around, but it'll disable it temporarily. Like I said, the dwarf geckos are incapacitated as long as the chaff is in effect. The geckos are only affected for maybe like a few seconds at most, but it's just enough time to just walk past them. And then we're gonna throw another one right here. Okay, then we're gonna drop down and then roll into the next room. Okay, so now we're coming up to the end of this section. So we get another familiar area. And again, we're just making life easy using a chaff in here, because this place is just surrounded by dwarf geckos, and if you get spotted, they just come in great numbers. And you don't want to have to deal with them. You know, anytime you could just avoid a fight is always best. You know, because they don't just send like a handful, they send like a whole army after you. And when the room is in alert, the door at the end is locked until the alert goes away. So here's another blast from the past, which is Vamp from Metal Gear Solid 2. And I sort of gave away what his weakness was, so I'll kind of just demonstrate.
You take Vamp. Kill that monster.
Yeah, Vamp doesn't like sunlight.
Snake.
Just one fully charged shot, grab him while he's weak, give him a shot, and that's it. You know, the solar gun makes this fight really, really easy. So now this is more or less a interactive, I guess, interactive cutscene with some things I gotta do. Which, basically, Raiden is going toe-to-toe with Vamp on top of what's left of Rex. And we're gonna be taking out these Gecko, which are coming in numbers. With the railgun, which, again, at this point, you're given for beating Crying Wolf, but I've already had this since the beginning of the run. And it takes at least a minimum of a level 2 charge aiming at the head to take these out in one hit. But a level 3 charge will take it out regardless of where you hit it. Well, at least as long as you do hit it. I don't know, just making fun of my aim there. So this is more or less, you're just waiting out a timer. You know, like you gotta wait for Raiden and Vamp to finish their fight and then it actually ends. But the immediate objective is to not allow any geckos to land in this area and then self-destruct. Which are the geckos that have like these like you know, bomb attachments on their sides, and they blink red when they start to tick down. Yeah, so kind of like that one there I just blew up.
Damn! Here they come again! Hang in there, Snake! Don't give up!
And so the way these gecko come in is pretty predictable. You know, like you have to take out certain ones to get others to show up. Others will just show up over time. You know, so you can kind of anticipate where you need to be looking. But otherwise, I'll just be kind of, you know, laying low in this corner here. It's a pretty safe spot from return fire from any of the geckos. And unlike the tank and the bike segment, your health does regenerate if you do take any damage, which is nice.
Nice, Snake!
Thanks, Otacon. Now, you might be wondering, well, why not just shoot Vamp and, you know, make this run a lot faster? Well, like in the original Metal Gear Solid, Snake just couldn't make that shot. You know, you could try, but he says, I can't do it. I can't shoot. I'll hit Raiden. So, we gotta wait it out. Okay, so we're getting another 2 here.
Just like that, Snake! Watch out, Snake! Nice, Snake!
Man, there's just something about that rubble that makes it look like you can fire through it, but still blocks it. Alright, so that's all the geckos, and at this point, we're just waiting for Raiden to deal the finishing blows, so we're gonna do what we can do best.
Can't do it. No, I can't. I can't shoot.
Okay, then we'll just cheer for him.
Sunlight! 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 Sunlight!
It's like, if I can't take the shot, I might as well just cheer for him. Go, Raiden! Vamp is dead. Crab emoji. I mean, seriously, this guy just wouldn't die. You know, I'm kind of referencing Metal Gear Solid 2. You beat him time and time and again. He keeps coming back. His nanomachines regenerate his health, like at, you know, superhuman speed, so he's like nearly invincible. And the syringe that I used against him suppresses that nanomachine activity that was keeping him alive. So the damaging blow that Raiden dealt was actually enough to kill him for good. So for the first and only time ever, we get to pilot a Metal Gear. Metal Gear Rex, to be exact, at least what's left of it. I mean, the railgun's missing, but it's being powered by Otacon's Mark III droid unit. And so you'll notice that I'll just be dashing forward throughout these tunnel sections, and that's because it's the fastest way to move. And then you'll notice I have the AT missiles on equip here. Because Rex's armament includes Gatling guns, missiles, and the charged laser on, you know, beneath its mouth. And we're going to be setting up for a classic fight coming up. You know, the age-old debate about which Metal Gear is better. You know, is it Metal Gear Rex or another Metal Gear that comes to mind? Was it Metal Gear Zeke? No. Was it Metal Gear D? No. Shaguhad? Oh, I'm just kidding. No, I can't quite put my finger on it, but I felt like I've seen it before. I felt like they had strength in numbers, can be piloted remotely, controlled by AI. I'm sure it'll kick in a bit. I'm not doing a good job of, you know, trying to hide it, am I? You know, but you'll see shortly. Alright, so that's the end of the tunnel section. Just dash your way forward and then occasionally to the right. So, the enemy that we're facing against next is Liquid. Piloting Metal Gear Ray. Almost said Metal Gear Solid Ray. But yeah, so it's Rex versus Ray. Which Metal Gear is better? Let's figure it out right now. So, we're gonna fire our missiles. Take 2 steps forward. Okay, maybe, not enough steps forward. Alright, so right off the bat, I'm already in for a rough time because I didn't get the RNG I wanted. So I was trying to get Liquid to jump off to the right to try to set up a quick kill, so we're gonna be trying to back this up differently. So right there, what I just did is I waited for him to jump. Because every time he jumps, he has no hitbox cooldown. So the laser that you use against him will deal more damage than you would typically see.
Good job, Snake. Keep it coming. Wide open right after you dodge his attack.
So we need to have the laser at least charged to level 1 for this high damage to work. Okay, so he's not cooperating, so we're just gonna use the missiles again.
Stop moving! Quick! Get close to him!
Okay, there we go, and that's the fight. Well, I mean, Ray isn't exactly an RNG fight, to be fair. But what you can do, which I didn't get, is if you missile it at the start and take 2 steps forward, which I did, and I only took 1, you can influence Ray to jump off to the right. And then when you aim off to the side with your plasma laser, it will influence him to jump over a silo in front of you, which gives you, like, your first shot. And then he'll jump back a row, and then when you move off to the shoreline facing a crane in the distance, it'll make Ray jump off to the left a second time, which would be the finishing hit. Because, again, you typically get at least around half of its health per shot, depending on how much it connects with him. Because, again, every time he jumps, like, he has no iframe, so, like, you could deal so much damage to him, you know, quickly. But you do have things like your Gatling gun, your missiles, your laser. You can even, like, you know, do some CQC with Rex, which is something I never imagined I would ever see it do. But, I mean, honestly, from just playing this game, when I saw that for the first time, I mean, I was just like, man, this is the bomb. You know, because people were probably debating, you know, which is the better Metal Gear, and then you get to battle it out. You know what? We're going to duke it out and show that Rex has still got it. Even though Ray is a designed anti-Rex, Rex has still got it. Even though I lost time to it, but Rex has still got it. Is the Metal Gear fight the hardest in MGS? Not necessarily, but it's the easiest to lose time to. You know, just, I don't know, from experience, but we're on the final act now, which is Act 5, and welcome to Outer Haven, especially Top Deck, which is probably, again, one of the scariest areas of the game, so, again, I'm just going to be focusing for a little bit.
Good job, Snake. You made it on board. Welcome to Haven.
Okay, so we're gonna let them jump down, and we're gonna throw a smoke, which is gonna kind of keep them occupied for a little bit. And then when these two jump down, I'm gonna throw another smoke at this wall, which will land right behind me as they're landing. And then I'm gonna lay down here, wait for a frog to drop down, headshot her. Then we're gonna crawl forward a little bit. And there's going to be 2 more frogs coming around here. Here's one. And a second one will be coming just right after her.
Hey!
Then we're gonna throw a chaff right here. Once it detonates, we get up and run. Now, we timed this specifically so that the geckos that are jumping around this place, the chaff will kind of disrupt them in their patrol, which will buy me enough time to get through here before they land. Especially for the first one that you just heard. The second one is scripted, but by the time it lands, I'm already trying to open this door, which takes 5 turns to open it quickly. And just like that, that's top deck. And that is the last area where we have to worry about alerts for the run. And it's a sigh of relief, trust me.
Defended by direct energy weapons that emit certain types of microwaves.
Did you say microwave?
Hit that frequency, the waves will start to evaporate.
Sounds like a perfect job for me.
Yeah, again, it's just more flashbacks of, you know, things that happen in, you know, the cutscenes leading up to this. So Snake is trying to go into this core where JD is, and they're trying to, you know, sabotage it to take down the SLP system. And, you know, it's sort of a suicide mission because there's a guarded microwave hallway that separates between you and the core. And Snake accepts this task knowing it was gonna take his life. Alright, so I'm just double checking my items here, which looks like I have everything I need, except I'm gonna go from blue smokes to regulars for safety. And then we're gonna go from here to Mantis Doll, which is, again, an item you don't normally have. But we have it ahead of time, just due to the fact that it's New Game Plus. And we're gonna be getting the third and final Frogs encounter. I mean, it's Frogs encounters left and right. So, we're gonna be doing a Frog Wave skip, which, first thing we gotta do is take out the frogs that are in the immediate area, except for one. So we're gonna take out these two, this one, and then you got 2 more left, so we're gonna, well, at least try to trink one. Okay, I did get her. Now, what I'm gonna try to do is, oh, this is perfect. So she's gonna throw a stun at me, and then I'm gonna throw a smoke at her. And then while she's coughing, I'm gonna trink her at least once while she's coughing, and then I'm gonna throw another smoke. So remember when I said about the trank when you fire around and it slowly ticks over time? So technically, she's supposed to be knocked out, but as you can see in the, you know, the health bar there and the stamina bar that's empty, she's technically alive, but not really alive. Like, she's unconscious, but not really conscious. So we're kind of confusing the game as to, like, hey, wait a minute. How is this frog up for so long, even though she's, you know, neutralized? Well, I don't know. The game just kind of gets lost, and it's like, hey, you ended the fight. So we save ourselves several minutes of fighting 2 additional waves of frogs. And this is the last boss fight. So for Screaming Mantis, our weapon of choice is going to be the M4 shotgun attachment that I equipped at Act 1. And we pop a syringe at the beginning so we detach ourselves from the nanomachines that she normally manipulates using the Mantis doll. The blue doll on the right is the Sorrel doll, which controls the dead. So we're meant to just target the Mantis doll to actually loosen it from her grip so we can use it against her. And of course, since Meryl still has the nanomachines in her system, they possess her to try to use her against me. You know, but every time you hit the Mantis doll, it temporarily loses control from Meryl as well as all the frogs in the area, which is kind of another incentive to not kill anything, which I almost did to that frog just then. Because if you keep everyone alive, it incentivizes you to target the Mantis doll since it will make them all drop. Now, if you killed any frogs or frogs died before this fight, every time you hit the Mantis doll, the frogs that are dead are still under the effect of the Sorrow doll, so they could still attack you. Okay, so again, just target the Mantis doll, and we use the buckshot. Given it just gives you the best chance of it successfully hitting the doll. Sometimes the M4 bullet just doesn't quite hit it. You know, the projectile pathing is kind of misleading. Okay, so there's the doll.
Dropping her puppet.
Okay, then we target it. Whoops.
Go grab that puppet.
Okay, so I'm gonna wait for her to move. There we go. So we're gonna shake the controller left to right, rather than what the game says to do, which is this. It doesn't really do quite enough. But if you shake the controller left to right while you're holding it, it gives you the most amount of chance to do, like, damage on her. You can get her down in, like, 2 swings, meaning she kind of goes up once and then up a second time. 3 is pretty common. I've actually had it where it takes 4 or more, which is not optimal. I mean, because every time it takes you additional, you know, motion swing, it's time that you're losing. But that is the end of all the Beauty and Beast B&B bosses. But still, it's not over yet. You know, we got a very long hallway to go through, and then another hallway which is microwaved, and then our last part of the run.
Enough is enough, Snake. You can't take any more of this. It's not about winning or losing.
Yeah, so now you're just hearing all the flashbacks from Snake's memories on, you know, the things leading up to this.
Where words are spent, they are seldom.
Why don't we get somebody else? I've got nothing to lose. You were the lightning in that ring. Can still shine through the darkness.
Snake didn't know there's a back door that's completely unguarded. Yeah, if only it were that simple. But if anybody does find a skip of some kind, I mean, we would love to know in the MGS4 Discord. For Metal Gear Speedrunners, we would love to hear about it. Okay, so we have chaffs in hand because we're going to be using them for the last part of this run, which is, as you guessed it, it's heavily guarded. But thankfully, their weakness is the chaff grenade. And like I said, they don't just send a handful, they send an army at you and then some. So we throw a chaff at the start, and then we throw the second one to kind of extend it again, going into the last part of the hallway. Alright. And that is that. Trying to give a more like a dramatic angle for Snake trying to run to the door, because it's going to get pretty dramatic right now, actually. You know, remember when I said that he accepted this because he knew it was high risk and it was probably going to kill him? Well, yeah, he's going to get cooked. Yeah, so this was the microwave hallway that in the flashback you heard Mei Ling talk about. And so we take damage while we're in here.
Get through there as quickly as possible.
Oh, thank you, Atakan. I had no idea. Well, anyways, like he said, you do want to get through here as quickly as we can because we can actually die in this hallway if you just do nothing or you just take too much damage from these probes, which can administer an electrical shock, kind of like this. Of course, some of these probes, shockingly, are scripted like that one was. But don't worry, Snake. We're almost there. I know this run's taking a heavy toll, but you can make it. Alright, so now at this point, we're mashing triangle, which you may not see. Because, well, I'm already mashing through the prompt, but we're crawling now, which is only through mashing triangle. And you could still navigate with the left analog, because you don't want them to drift off to the probes and then take another shock. Now, even though his HP is getting dangerously low, it's only when his health and his stamina reach 0. that he's actually dead. You know, but he's gonna pull through. You know, it's not like he's gonna get shocked again, and then our favorite item of ours isn't gonna take the hit for us. No, I wasn't referring to Otacon there with the MK3. But as a matter of fact, the they got the Solid Eye. Man, the Solid Eye couldn't take all the heat. F's in chat for the Solid Eye. You were so useful in this run, and we will miss you. So right now, Snake is what I like to call running on willpower. His health is barely visible. He's on stamina only. He's just barely crawling to this door, which is the end of the torturous hallway. You know, his suit's taking a lot of damage. Now, like I said, you can die in this hallway, but once you reach this section coming up with this cutscene where you get zapped right here, once you reach this point, you're safe. Like, you no longer need to mash, or you no longer need to worry about, you know, having Snake have his health and stamina drained to 0. But if your health and stamina drain before you reach this cutscene, game over. And you have to start that hallway all the way over. And let me tell you, it is not fun. So, we are now one boss fight away from ending this run and making time, which is going to be up against Liquid Ocelot, which, as you may have noticed, the run has had nostalgia flashbacks left and right, and this fight is going to be another great example of it. So we're going from Metal Gear Solid mode to some Metal Gear Tekken, because Fist wants to settle it via fisticuffs. So you're hearing the music from MGS1, the encounter music, as well as the camera angle, as well as the health bars and text referencing MGS1. So what I'm trying to do here is break Liquid's guard and then 1-2 punch him to kind of loop him, where his guard remains open and I can inflict the most damage quickly while doing these series of 1-2 punches. And then once his health gets low enough, it'll transition him into the next phase. So now he goes into phase 2. You know, he's kind of saying, you know what, we're taking it seriously now. Which now it transitions into like Metal Gear Solid 2 mode, where once again the text changes, as well as the health bar, and of course the tanker alert music. Now I'm gonna try to do like a single punch loop, so I'm gonna focus for a little bit. Because the 1-2 punch loop is a little bit harder to manage, because Liquid moves around a lot more and he blocks, unlike in phase 1 where he didn't block as often. And he has this like wind-up punch, which we call the sucker punch, which when he lands it on you, it deals a lot. You know, it could take you out in 2 hits if it lands. Yeah, so that sucker puncher, when he winds it up, you gotta be very careful. And then, just like phase 1, once his health gets low enough, you can get him into the next phase. Alright, there we go. So this is phase 3. Start seeing CQC, and you guessed it! Metal Gear Solid 3 phase. Uh-oh. Yeah, so Liquid starts using CQC now. Which thankfully when he does, his stance changes where his guard is wide open, so I can, once again, repeat the 1-2 punch loop. Plus a headbutt for good measure. Which, of course, okay, he did it to me. So I guess when I said headbutt, maybe he thought, oh, it's my turn to headbutt. But it's actually faster to do the 1-2 punch. The headbutt is actually slower. But I just like doing it to just let him know it's over.
It's not over yet.
Oh, it is over. So this is the final phase. Health bars don't really matter anymore. You just gotta inflict the most punches before he gets you. You know, so you just take 3 steps forward. You take a hit. He takes a hit. And then you just do 3 more hits. And then once you get this, and he falls over, it's basically done. And then you gotta do 3 more scripted hits. So time is gonna come up on the last hit, which I will indicate that when that happens. And my estimate was 2 hours and 5 minutes to this point. Okay, so time's coming up. Right here. 2 hours and 41 seconds, and I'm 100% sure that this is with the big boss rank. You know, I did not get spotted, I did not get killed, I did not kill anything. I almost did at the very end in Screaming Mantis. And I did not use any rations, even though Bike Escape, it came close. But there you go, that's the run. After this, it's just a series of cutscenes and, you know, credits. But as I skip through these and kind of get some of the credits started, I just want to give shoutouts to the MGS4 community and its support for it running this game. You know, Metal Gear Speedrunners has been very kind to me, and I would definitely encourage others to join in, check us out on the MGS4 Discord if you want to participate or even just get involved. Shoutouts to Sergeant Silent. He's helped me out a lot improving my speedrunning in this game, and shoutouts to Sparty for the same. And also shoutouts to Jaguar King. I mean, he is another inspiration for a lot of us. I mean, he runs a lot of these Metal Gear games. He runs up to 14 of them. But every time I watch him run this game, on New Game, every time I think I can't do something, and then I see him do it, and then I look back at myself, it's like, you know, why can't I do it? And so he's just been a, you know, really good inspiration for, you know, speedrunning and just trying to, like, improve myself. But more importantly, thanks to you, those watching this video, and of course to the reviewers for watching this run. I do hope you take this into consideration for MGS4 on the highest difficulty for New Game Plus. And, you know, that's all there is to say about that. And once again, thank you for watching, and I hope you take this run into consideration.